everyone. I'm super excited to host Federico Borello. I had the pleasure of listening to his lecture at SpeckleCon this year in November and the incredible amount of projects he has done, and I was super inspired from that presentation, and I thought I should definitely have Federico on my show. So thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks to you, Mayur, for the invite, and hi, everybody.
Yes. So Federico, right from your bachelor's till date, if I were to ask three highlights of your career, what would those be?
All right, so three highlights. For sure, moving to London was one of the main big steps, I would say. I had like a quite traditional education in a technical university, a polytechnic in Italy. So quite focused on restoration as well as technical subjects like building physics and math, and I would say less less leaning towards design or contemporary design. But moving to London was the kind of the main, the big point, I would say, like in 2014, 2015. To attend the DRL, Design Research Lab, EAA. That was definitely a life-changing experience for me. So that was the main, I would say, pivotal point, at least on the academic side, like before to move into the profession, was really allowed me um, to change my perspective, I would say, uh, of design and what it means design, what it is design. Great people, like a lot of talents, both within my peer group as well as the staff, like the tutors, the director, Theo. So it was definitely a great, fantastic experience. And then I think was followed right away by joining Zaha. That was another milestone for sure in the last decade of my life and career, which again was a milestone for me because also was kind of a dream coming true. Also specifically joining like Zaha Code, like for me was really like a goal in a way, like even though I knew the difficulties, the challenges, but it was really like an achievement, but also the start of again a new long learning journey, which lasted about 5 years. And then 5 years later, again, the third milestone I would say is trying this new adventure, trying to stand on my own feet together with my dear friend Max, and now also business partner. So these are, I would say, they are the three main pivotal points of the last decade.
That's a right. So you also teach at UCL. Can you share like what kind of courses and philosophy?
Yeah, no, I mean, UCL is definitely, I didn't include it because maybe I had to, because I only had three points, but I would definitely widen the kind of milestone group into four, like introduce that as well, because it was a great opportunity I had to s- to s- to start teaching. I mean, I've been doing a lot of workshop activities before, like both within the DRL, but also during my time at ZA. But the UCL gave me the chance to, for the first time, to really craft over time my own agenda together with, again, like a great group of friends and colleagues. And nowadays with Cesar, who is again also a former colleague of mine and a former DRL. And definitely UCL plays an important role these days too. We set up together this agenda called the RC10, the Research Cluster 10 of the AD program, and we are interested in, I would say, the intersection of our own interests, a bit of design for manufacturing, so everything which deals with contemporary methods of production and delivery, as well as gaming tech and artificial intelligence as well. So, of course, like on an academic level. So we are trying to connect these dots, always, of course, with a design intent, like to deliver good design. It's not just the tech, let's say, a tech program, is rather really like a design program.
Take us back to the time where you were thinking of starting your firm, because it's a very difficult and challenging journey because it requires a whole new skill set of operating and learning business and client. So what was going through your mind?
Yeah, so I will be very transparent about that. I was not really planning it. It's not something which I was kind of preparing in the background, which is, I would say, common to happen. It was quite like an opportunity which came up out of the blue because of a potential project we could do. And my friend Max like contacted me saying, "Look, we have potentially this thing we could do. It's like too big to for one person. We could actually team up." And it's something, of course, like since we are friends since almost our childhood, like we always brainstorm like over the years, but never too seriously, like to a point to really make a plan. Um, and that was a kind of, again, pivotal point because we pretty much had to take a decision in a matter of 3 to 4 days. And I was like, either take it or leave it. So with a bit of naiveness, I would say, taking for sure a lot of risk, I just said, okay, let's try. That was really like the real story. Yeah. So, and of course, it meant to, as you said, like it meant to face like very quickly all the challenges which you mentioned, which still exist. Of course, they didn't disappear. They're still there. But of course, 3 years ago, they were way higher mountains to climb because we had really barely an idea of how to craft a contract and what to, like all the liabilities, like dealing with clients and so on. So it forced, I would say, both of us to learn very quickly at our own expenses, which is also, I think, one of the reasons why I decided to take this leap.
When you get like, stuck or you need help, do you have like mentors or friends ecosystem who will like guide you in those times?
For sure, I have a very good community around me, like a lot of great people, like starting from even also my girlfriend, and like they're all great professionals, all in the same field, like to the several degrees, which we confront each other like constantly. So that's absolutely necessary, I would say, and as well, like maintain like a very good relationship with my previous colleagues as well in the office, and they're good friends, and we still meet and discuss things. So definitely the community around me is like necessary, absolutely necessary.
Yeah. No, one interesting trend I found during my London visit, like I met four different ex-Zaha colleagues and they're starting their own companies, and which makes me think like, is it common in once you go there, like the opportunities open up and people start their own firm?
I think it's quite common because fundamentally it's a place of growth where you skill up very quickly, you become competitive. It's a competitive place. So you learn very quickly. You become like a professional, I would say, quite quickly, or you have to become, which means also widening a bit your search. Let's say you start looking at many different things at the same time, like both design, like especially in my case, I would say in the team where I was participating with, like we were like, which is still is like a very interdisciplinary kind of a group of people, let's say, where many different kind of professional skills like mix up. You go from programming to engineering to design to game developments to master planning. So you have a very broad exposure to things, which um, again makes you grow quite quickly. And eventually, some people might feel like to test by themselves some of these skills in the out there in the market, which is also what I tried.
Got it. What's your favorite memory at Zaha?
Oh, I have so many memories. To spot one, I genuinely think it's difficult because there have been fantastic years. I would say also was lucky to be like in the kind of last wave before the COVID. So there was still like a very intense studio culture, I would say, where like we were there like doing long hours, like all together, like ordering, having dinner all together, like doing some missions and also traveling together. I think after that, things changed a little bit, of course, as a necessity. And that maybe this kind of social aspect weakened a little bit. So in my years in the office, like it was really intense of events, and then field trips, office trips. I would struggle to find only one highlight.
Amazing.
Opening office, like building openings were like a main, I would say a uh, main event, since these fantastic buildings, they open up once every many years. So if you get
Mm,
the luck to visit one of them, it's quite an event.
got it. What part of your like current work excites you the most? What kind of projects and challenges you love doing?
What I like a lot is the practicality of it, to make it in simple words, but for the fact that we are trying to resolve real world issues, let's say real project issues. So it's less about concept design or developing concepts, ideas, but rather resolving or bringing these ideas to reality with all the constraints which reality has, right? Which means multiple layers of constraints, from economics to gravity to manufacturing and craftsmanship and so on. So it's, for me, the exciting part is to how to inject technology into that, into this kind of mix, and what technology can do to augment these processes. How can we bring like a design to reality, like, through the means of technology? That's the most exciting part.
Amazing. I'll just share my screen and if you can provide an overview about different services of Encode.
Cool. It's actually, we are updating the website these days, so you get to see the the most recent version. Yeah, if you as I mentioned briefly, like, the idea is very much captured in that initial statement, which is bridge the gap between design and construction, because I think it's quite evident for whoever whoever has been exposed to both worlds, like of design and construction, that there's a huge gap in between, and this gap is given by it's a derivative of many things, like both the tooling, which is not up to speed. Like the more we go towards the end of the kind of the project, the more the tools are less developed, or uh, the tech is less refined, I would say. And also, like, because at the end of the day, like, construction is still a very human endeavor. Like, it's very much human based, so people have to work with their hands, they have to lift things and operate machines. So there's a gap between, just because of that already. Like, it's a purely digital process for the initial part, and it's a very human physical process on the other end. So in between, I think there is this gap, which through both technology, but as well as specific processes, we could mitigate, or we could try to fill and facilitate this transfer, this back and forth.
In any particular project which you would like to talk about, what were some
Sure.
challenges?
Since it's on the main page, we can go to the second one. If you click on the second one, yes, in another page. Yeah, this is a project which we have been working on for about 6 to 7 months, like the last year and the year before. Was it's quite it's, at least I quite love this project, because it was kind of also the beginning of a series of mass timber projects that we are doing these days, and which we are very much interested into. And also is like a good, I would say, it's like a good summary of many aspects, like both complexity in terms of geometry, and like required a lot of expertise, I would say, on how to manage these kind of shapes, and not only on the design side, but to really how to develop it to the screws, to how to make it work, how to put it together. And at the same time, it also was a project where we jumped on board very early in the process. So it was very much like a concept stage. a little bit more than a concept stage. And we went all the way through till the end, till the installation. So we were also supporting digitally the installation on site. So it was a fantastic experience in that sense because it really covered the full spectrum, right, from design to delivery. And it's like a huge, quite big grid shell, 50-meter span, about 20 meters cantilever with over 300 elements, all completely different because it was double curvature. So there was a lot of precision was really like mandatory, like to the
Mm.
millimeter, because all the parts were completely again unique. So they had to align perfectly to be bolted together and connected together. So it was a very challenging process, not only, of course, from our side, but also from the engineering side, like on the installation side. So the whole team worked very well together, I think, from the beginning. In this case, we were working with Theka Timber, which is the timber supplier and steel supplier as well of the project. And we team up again with a great team of engineers of TTW, Sydney, and Kane Construction was building. So it was a really great team, great effort over about again 6 to 7 months. So it was also short timeline. The project had to open for the FIFA World Cup
Mm.
in summer, so the timeline was very short. There was a lot of pressure. So, but as you can see, like again, our involvement was design to production, pretty much like the whole process.
This is like super inspiring and beautiful project. It has like, as an engineer and architect, like both have an exciting set of challenges for this project at this
Yeah,
scale.
yeah.
Maybe we can take one more.
Sure. Maybe go to Pineham, the third one. Yeah, the second one. That's another project which is about to get built instead. In these days, they are pre-installing in the factory all the steel parts with the glulam beams. It's like a Olympic-sized swimming pool in charge of, again, the same kind of scope, but for this architectural ceiling. Is an architectural ceiling, so it's not structural in the sense that it holds the roof of the building. It has to hold itself, like support itself. So, but doesn't have to be structural for the steel above it. But in this case, like the challenge or the kind of design challenge was less about the geometry, like because was relatively straightforward, like 45-degree grid, but rather how to make this roof as modular as possible. So how we could make it into a system of elements which could be replicated and to minimize the number of lifting from ground up, because the kind of cassette you've seen in the video before will be actually assembled on the ground and then lifted up. So the idea was how can we design a kit of parts which could come together into a very limited set of modules, and then those modules be lifted up in position. So mostly, again, this was the design challenge, which as everything required a lot of iterations and back and forth with the engineering team and also the installation team, which will be in charge of installing in the pieces. So these days they are assembling the beams that we get to see soon.
It's just so beautiful to see the level of detail in modeling and
Yeah,
precision you have.
like it's we we'll call these models like pretty much like digital replicas of the physical one. Like it's really capturing to the millimeter everything which is fully representing like the physical artifacts. All the tolerances, the screws and bolts and nuts, everything is there. And it's not because because we like to make detailed model, but because it's fundamentally de-risk the whole process, anticipate a lot of the complexity, and de-risk the whole process again. It's like building the project before it gets built. So if everything works digitally, I'm not saying that it's one-to-one, it is going to happen in the same smooth way, because it's never the case. Of course, like there are other factors to be factored in. Of definitely you de-risk, decrease the chance of failures or mistakes, which are instead very common, like in a traditional method of production.
Got it. Federico, if you were to give tips for gaining expertise in timber design and projects, what would you like to share?
I think the only real way, I would say, is to team up with people with different kind of expertise. Like, I mean, I can only share with what was my own experience, which was again bringing my own expertise together with my partner Max, like onto the table, because every project is never like a one-man kind of show. Like, it's really like a mix of expertise, which everyone is absolutely necessary. So, and it's quite unrealistic to say that you can do it all. So it's I think the only way is to team up like with the right people, and which have different expertise from you, and then if you sit at the same level, let's say you have the same conversation, then it's really an exchange, and then you can learn things, and then you can borrow some of this knowledge and inject it into your own practice as well. So now, for example, with timber, we have some experience, and certain design features or certain design constraints, we don't even need the engineer anymore, because we already know how to, at least on a kind of first principle basis, we know how to solve it. And then, of course, you need the engineer anyway, because you need the certification, you need the validation, and so on. But this kind of mutual exchange, like, it's the real factor, I would say.
Any piece of advice to 18-year-old Federico?
Wow, that's a philosophical question. If I think now, like retrospectively, I would say I wouldn't change anything. It's absolutely, I'm definitely in peace with myself in that sense. Like, I would do exactly the same thing again. I have no regrets. Yes, I confirm that. Yeah, I confirm.
That's amazing. So I have a rapid fire round to wrap up the interview. You have to keep your answer brief and it's
I will
quick.
try, yes.
Okay. So who's your role model?
Wow, there's another one. I don't think I have one single. It's a mix of many.
Top three.
Top three. My parents. uh, yeah, I would say my parents.
Your favorite restaurant?
Well, that's another challenging one, because I'm a foodie and I love trying out different restaurants. But there's one in London here which I love. It's like Israeli restaurant. It's called the Palomar.
And one in Italy?
Sorry?
Which would be your favorite restaurant in Italy?
In Italy, well, definitely in my hometown, like, and there's a great place. I mean, it's like a 3-star Michelin place called Piazza Duomo, which is definitely an experience.
Any book or movie that made a big impact in your life?
You said short, but I would need to think about it. Doesn't come to my mind anything in specific at the moment. Yeah, I have to think about it.
No worries. Which city is in your travel bucket list?
Definitely Sydney.
Your favorite architecture building?
I would say Maxi.
3 words your friend would describe you as.
Very, very rational, determined, and yeah, a bit straightforward.
Imagine now you are in your 60s and you're reflecting back. What would you be most proud of?
I think so far, at least, I don't know what is going to happen in the next 30 years, but so far I'm very happy about the whole journey. And this is, of course, not only because of my own efforts, but I had a lot of support from my family, my friends, like everyone around me. So I'm very proud of everything so far. Like, it's like it was a great journey. I can't complain, let's say. Let's put it this way.
All right, Federico. Anything which we didn't cover in this interview and you'd like to end on that note?
Well, on me specifically or what in general?
Any last message?
Any last message? Well, if I can maybe say something for the youngsters, I would say to even if it's difficult, to try to be brave and try to stick what you like, or at least try to focus really on what you like to do, because that's the only way to try to be the best in what you're doing. So I would say that that's the piece of advice, which of course is not an easy thing to do, but is a genuine advice, I would say.
That's an incredible point to end the interview.